Good morning. This is Small Biz David, and welcome to actually our second Saturday morning community meeting of Dreaming with Entrepreneurs in Google+. It's been a great week in the community. Actually, guys, I think our community has doubled in size this week. And I have the reason I set up this community, other than the obvious, is that I had set up a lot of communities based upon specific themes, marketing themes, and they were good ideas. I'm convinced, and a lot of people joined, but I, as the owner of the community, was not doing a good job in managing the community. I had so many going, and so I said, this is kind of crazy. I need to do something that is more encompassing, and so I created Dreaming with Entrepreneurs in Google+, and now I want to take all these communities that I have and circles, and I want to put everything into this community. I want all my energies and efforts to go into the community. And to your point, Zara, first, why don't each one of you introduce yourselves to other community members who may be watching, and because it's a public HOA, there might be some other folks who are watching also. And well, let's start with Zara, Roxanne, and Preston in that order. That's how I'm looking at you on the screen. So, Zara, you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. I'm Zara Altair, and my business is Actation Now. It's marketing for people who are new to Google+. And I am also a writer, so I have a divided life.
Okay. What kind of writing do you do?
It's fiction.
Really? How many books have you had books published?
No, I'm working on a very complicated novel, and I was a poet for many years and had done a lot of poetry readings and have had poetry published, but that's a totally different format.
I thought once a poet, always a poet.
Oh, well, that's true. It's a way of thinking. It's a way of thinking. A novel is extraordinarily structured, and mine is an historical novel set in this early 6th century in Ravenna, which at that time was the capital of Italy. But we don't need to talk about that here.
Well, no, it's an entrepreneurial project. And it's a dream. It's a dream.
It's definitely a dream, and you know, I kind of got stuck. I actually just posted on Google Plus last night about, you know, restoring my files, and I had a whole mind map with all the different people in the different courts of that time. There were really 3 places that were important. There was Ravenna, the capital, and also Rome, which was not the center of much of anything except possibly with the Pope, and then Constantinople, which was the new Rome, you know, the center of the Roman Empire. And there are, in Italy at that time, there were two sets of laws. The ruler was an Ostrogoth, and Theodorico, and it was an Ostrogoth. And when they conquered Italy, as it were, they all had a third of property. Romans had to give a third of their property to the Ostrogoths. All the Ostrogoths in Italy lived by their rule. They called themselves, you know, the people. They didn't call themselves anything but the people. And then all the Italians lived by Roman law, so there were 2 sets of administration, and da-da-da-da-da.
How long have you been working on it?
Oh, a while. I got waylaid by, you know, cancer, surgery, recovery, and then after that, moving. So we've been sort of separated for about a year, and I'm just so excited to be back
Good
doing that.
for you. We're excited to have you back and working on your novel.
Yeah.
Roxanne, how are you doing today?
Oh, hey. I'm
Hi,
trying to set
Howard.
up another camera that looks better.
Okay, well, I actually was. We're on Roxanne right now.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We'll get to Preston in a second.
I'm okay.
Roxanne, how you
Hey,
doing?
I'm fine. How are y'all? I started
Hi.
in Google last year, probably just now been a year, and left Facebook. Got tired of all the games they wanted to play, so I came over here to start a community for epilepsy. I'm an epilepsy advocate, and finally um, started writing about everything I've been through with
Roxanne, your
my.
mic quality.
Oh,
You
it's
need.
because I have my hand over it.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. Did you hear any of that?
We heard something. It was muted tones, but we heard.
Oh, well, I just now started a blog about everything about epilepsy and what I went through, and I want to start writing about other people and their lives, be like with epilepsy. So that's why I'm on Google now.
Okay. Well, we heard a little bit about that last week. Also, you were sharing some
Yeah.
personal stories in your life. There's your daughter.
There's my little girl. Yeah.
She can come into the meeting. That's not a problem at all. She can
Okay.
come in, no problem.
Say
Okay,
hello.
Preston, you're up.
Okay, hold on. I'm trying to get a better camera here because my laptop one is not that clear. But anyways, my name is Preston Odenbredt. I run a couple of different things. I work for a company actually in Italy called Skyline Webcams. We put high definition webcams up in many beautiful locations around the world. And then I also work with a friend of mine that produced I guess a business portal for business owners to be able to just keep track of their contacts, keep track of their activities on a daily basis, and we're just launching a brand new media match program that is really becoming successful. A lot of people are getting great results in less than 2 weeks on Alexa, going up or dropping Alexa from like 1 million to less, or 6 million to 1 million in about 2 weeks. So it's pretty exciting to see that happening after almost 3 years of working on it with the development of it. So that's me.
Okay, and a good morning to Delilah, who didn't get into the panel, but she says good morning to all of us. Good morning, Delilah. How are things
Lila.
in Chattanooga,
Hi.
Tennessee? Actually, the first time, Zara, that you and I met was on a HOA that Delilah produced, as a
It
matter of
was.
fact.
It
It was.
was. Yeah. She is so much fun. She's just so
Yes,
much
she
fun.
is. Yes, she is. Um, okay. One of the things I wanted to throw out um, for discussion, and I'm gonna share some things that I have read this week. For whatever the reason, 3 different people said to me this week, and they're all community members. Uh, what are my suggestions for writing a business plan? Because they are starting businesses, and it was amazing. I haven't had anybody ask me that question for a while, and then all of a sudden, 3 people asked me that question this week, and my response was that it's very, very important for a business owner to have a written business plan. And I did not do this in my life for the first 33, 34 years of being in business. I had things in my head. I might have put some goals and objectives down on a piece of paper, but I never went through the wonderful exercise of writing a business plan, because it makes you stop and think what it is that you really do, why you do it, and what are potentially your chances for success. Now, if you are going and you're asking for somebody to invest some money in your business, it's mandatory that you write a business plan, because they're going to ask for one. They want to know what you're going to do, how you're going to do it, so they can have some type of assessment of can it be successful based upon the plan. I suggested to all three folks that first they go to a website, SBA.gov. SBA stands for Small Business Administration. It's a very Small Business Administration is one of the most valuable resources there is in small business. But I have found, and I've worked with them for the last 6, 7, 8 years, that it's a very misunderstood resource. Their website has 4,000 plus pages of small business information. So if you go on the site and you do a search for any small business topic, question, concern, there's a very, very high probability that they've got something on their site that will help you out with your answer. They do have a template for people starting a business. So I said go and get that template, study that template. That's a way for you to get started. What I did about 5 years ago is I bought some software from a company called Palo Alto Software. At that time, they were recognized as having the best software for writing a strategic business plan. 5 years ago, it cost me $99. I have no idea what it costs today. It probably doesn't cost a whole lot more today than the $99, but it was one of the best investments I ever made in my business, and one of the best business experiences I ever had, because they ask you all the right questions. You fill in the answer, you push a button at the end, and out comes your document. And it's a wonderful, wonderful exercise. So those are my suggestions that I made to folks. And also I said to them, if you have any specific challenges in writing that plan, or challenges in parts of the plan, and you want to bring it into the community, we would be more than happy to have you throw it out there, and you'll get the advice from anybody around who has been in business and has something to offer for that plan. So that was kind of it was very interesting that it happened 3 times this week. So as I was also answering some of the questions, I was also looking at some of my email coming in. I get a lot of small business information email. I've been doing it for years. It's what I'm all about, so I look to see what people are talking about, what are the topics of concern, and I personally have a wonderful library of small business information that I've just been collecting for years. But one of my favorite mentors was actually a gentleman that I met about 3 years ago. I've been reading him, following him for a long time. His name is Brian Tracy, and I actually was on a book cover with Brian Tracy about 3 years ago, and it was a best-selling book. But through that book effort, I was able to meet him, and we went one-on-one with. It was just a wonderful one of those moments of a lifetime kind of experiences when you can meet somebody and ask questions of that stature. But Brian has a very simple concept for people who want to start a business. I want to real quickly go over that, mention 5 points, there's another side to this too. This is great for folks who want to start a business, but you know what? It's a valuable exercise for us small business owners who want to evaluate where we are. How do we answer these particular questions right now? Maybe we're forgetting some of the basic kinds of things, and we need to go back to the basics. So I'm going to real quickly share those 5 points from Brian. Find a need and fill it. Pretty self-explanatory. Well, I guess the point there is instead of saying, now I've got this great idea and I'm going to bring it out and I'm going to present it and I'm going to build it and I'm going to sell it, maybe the question is you need to do some research. Not that it necessarily won't work, but is there a need for that? Because if there isn't a need for it, nobody's going to buy it. Here's a great one. Number 2 is find a problem and solve it. That's what we have to do in our businesses. Find a problem and solve it. Not just find the problem, but come up with a reasonable solution to that problem. And by the way, panelists, if you want to pipe in and just challenge me with something I'm saying or have some additional advice that you'd like to, just I guess the best way to do is kind of raise your hand and I'll see it and we'll go for it or whatever. Sarah's waving her hand.
I think it's so important to, I mean, all these nice, philosophical things about, find a need and fill it and da-da-da. I love your advice about going to SBA, Small Business Association, because it's just, it is phenomenal. But I think especially for a lot of people who are at the dreaming stage, if you will, about starting a business, it's so important to think about money and to break that down. There was a period in my life when I wrote grant proposals and they were funded and they were grant proposals in the arts, and people used to ask me, how did you get your grant funded, because my wonderful project didn't. And there was a lot of whining and complaining, and I said, well, I think it has to do with the budget, because what you're doing is you're asking people for money, and a lot of people, in the regular business world, the same thing. They want to get investors, and if you have a budget with line items and you break that down and you, even to yourself, you have a really good grasp of what money it's going to take to make this business viable, and what are the ongoing expenses and how they work, and making sure that you're paying yourself in some way, that it makes a big difference, because lots of people can come up with a good idea. I mean, that's essentially what I said to the artist. Lots of people can come up with a very creative idea, but until you get your head wrapped around the money part of it and the stewardship of money, for lack of a better word, it's going to be flapping around there with everybody else who has a really cool idea, because people have cool ideas all the time. So I just feel it's really important to think about money and know what your initial goals are and what your medium goals are and your long-term goals are, as far as how much money you're going to invest, how much money you can reasonably expect to come in first at the beginning. It may be nothing at the beginning, and how long it would be in a reasonable time frame to start making money. All of those things, those are all part of the equation. I'm not sure what your other 3 points are, and I'm going to shut up now.
First, when you were writing grants, were you writing them in California?
I was. I was.
And the reason I asked that, my first girlfriend in life is still writing grants, I believe, art grants in Los Angeles.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
So
it's and it's
you might have run
very
into her. You might have run into her in your grant writing experiences.
possibly. I was in Northern California, but
Uh,
yeah, it's a very that too is a very competitive world. It's an extraordinarily competitive world. Um,
uh,
because people who are artists, they do have great ideas and they're very creative, and but there is a very prevalent attitude out there for people who are seeking help with their projects, that their project is just so wonderful that of course somebody wants to give them money, but they're not showing the responsibility of how they're going to use that money. I need so much money for supplies. I need so much money for equipment. I need so much money well, the project I had over 20 artists, so we had to allocate for paying each one of them and all that sort of thing. But we really need to break it down. I don't know about your, what was it called, the Palo Alto software.
yes.
I don't know. Do they walk you through a budget in that software?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's okay. It's so important. I just, for people who are watching, you need more than a good idea. You really need to have a solid business vision for your business. So, okay, points.
Okay, Kim Baltman, who is watching, has a great philosophical statement about her current business plan when she says, "My current business plan is to finish what I started."
Kim, I love it. That is super.
Great. Kudos, Kim. You are right on for the comment of the day.
Really.
Zara, to your point about money, one of the suggestions that I made to one of the three people that I was speaking to this week, we were getting into it, and you really have to have some goals and objectives, big goals and objectives before you really get down and write your business plan. And so after about 10 or 15 minutes of discussion, he actually said to me, well, first year I want to make $100,000. I said, okay, write it down. Now, if it's a realistic goal. There's nothing unrealistic about making $100,000. So start with the $100,000 as your goal and work backwards. Then know how much money you need to generate each month so that you make your $100,000 goal, and then focus on those activities that will generate that amount of revenue for you in a month's time. Times 12 is your $100,000. And so it was, he said, oh, and I saw a big smile on his face. I said, write it down. That's your goal. And it's realistic. My goodness, we know people that make millions of dollars, and I think that's where businesses fall short. The goal is, I want to make $1 million without really totally understanding what it takes to make $1 million from the business itself, from sales, all those things that's going to take to do it. So that's another reason why you need to go through the structure of a business plan. Okay, point number 3, there are unlimited opportunities. We're back to Brian Tracy now. There are unlimited opportunities. That's what business is all about, understanding the opportunities, and when an opportunity presents itself, go for it, because if you don't, somebody else will. Focus on the customer. Point number 4. It's always about the customer. The customer's not always right, but the customer's never wrong. is how I say it. You have to have a customer focus, and as soon as you lose sight of that focus, your business is not going to be successful. And point number 5 and this is a very controversial one, bootstrap your way to success. Once you have come up with a problem or idea, resolve to invest your time, talent, and energy instead of your money to get started. That whole concept of bootstrapping, we all do it. I have done it. I've actually only one time in 40 plus years have I ever asked somebody for money, and that goes back almost 40 years ago, 35 years ago, where I was starting a publishing business from scratch. It was going to be very difficult for me to bootstrap that because I needed a staff of 15 people, a lean staff of 15 people to accomplish it, and so bootstrapping was not a way to go. So I went to a bank, and back in 1978, when I went to the bank, I maybe took 5 or 6 pages of my business plan, my strategy, not a big stack of paper, and told my story. And 24 hours later, literally, the banker called me up and said, "Come down and pick up a check for $10,000." And we were on. Those were the good old days when it was easy to do that. It doesn't. Well, I've never asked for money since that time, but I'll bet it doesn't operate that way today. I'll bet it doesn't. And let's talk about the SBA again real quickly. Another misunderstood concept about the SBA. The SBA, Small Business Administration, does not make loans to a business. What the SBA does is they will guarantee a loan that your traditional bank has made. So if you go to the bank for $100,000, the bank will put you through whatever exercise they put you through to get it, and 9 times out of 10, and maybe 10 times out of 10, they'll say, okay, we will give you the $100,000, but you must get an SBA security to that loan. So then you go to the SBA, and another misunderstood concept. It's not a lot of paperwork. It's not a lot of time. They have streamlined the process as much as it can be streamlined. They want to make sure too that you are the right person to do what you say you're going to do. They know how to evaluate that situation. But you go, you present to them. They will have an answer for you in less than a week. It can happen that you would have an answer. So the banks love the SBA guaranteed loans, because if they loan you $100,000, worst case scenario is your business has to close down. You can't repay your loan. The bank has that 90. Well, the bank SBA will guarantee loans up to 90%, depending upon the nature of the loan. They have different classifications of loans depending upon the nature of it and their belief that you will accomplish what you say you're going to accomplish. But if the bank only has to lose 10% of a $100,000 loan, they love that. So they love the SBA loan guarantees. Okay, we'll move on to another thing. Actually, I'll have to do this quickly.
Hey, David?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd really like to hear from Preston, who has already 2 businesses. And Preston, can you give us some feedback about your experience in, starting up and the way you got going? Because you have so many, web high definition webcams out there now. Tell us about the beginning. I think that would really help a lot of people.
Well, to be honest with you, these 2 businesses aren't mine. I just work with them as partner. The people who actually created it are a lot smarter than me. What it was is basically Skyline Webcams was actually because of one of my friends was in my Smash business with me, and he just came to me once and he said, hey, since you like video, since you like technology, you got to see what I'm doing now. And I looked at what he was doing, and it was just the very beginning stage. They were in the research for I think it was like 3 years, and he says, we want to launch this internationally. Do you think you want to help? Well, when I looked at the quality of the video, when I looked at and did research, because you need to do that before you start anything, it was just amazing to me. I was like, there's nothing out there that I've seen like that. I mean, I've seen competitors, but then when he told me the price point, I was like, this is a no-brainer. And we started it, and I know just from experience that even if you had everything, figured out, it doesn't necessarily mean it becomes that way. And
Exactly.
it doesn't go as fast as you would hope for. So what you're saying, one mistake I made is I had money available, and I was using that not necessarily for expenses, just for living, and because I wasn't building any profit yet, because it just takes time, and it took longer because I'm in also a third world country, and I unfortunately don't speak the language, so I had to actually move my focus from where I thought I would be to an island in Honduras called the Bay Islands, or Roatan, because they spoke English. But trying to get a hold of business owners who run resorts that are pretty well known is a very difficult task. So you had to do a lot of networking with people that you thought you would be able to get in there, and I did a lot of research on LinkedIn and try to connect with people, and that's kind of how I got in there. But I also made, unfortunately, however people think about it, but it's cold calling to these places, and just started talking to them and sending them email and trying to seal the relationship. But it really didn't happen until I actually went out there physically and actually met with them, is when I got a lot of the sales that came in. So it's just, you can plan it out, but you got to realize you got to change it if things aren't working out well, and you got to be willing to stick to it. I mean, I almost quit many times when I started it. So
Passion, persistence, and patience. Those are my 3 P words about business. Press, I was going to comment. I was going to comment on something that you said towards the end, and I forgot what the comment was.
Well, I like that. I like his real life experience, and the fact that he had to, kind of shift things around, because he's right. You can plan for one way, but you may discover along the path of building your business that you have to change the way you're working. That's why I wanted to hear from Preston. He's like, there's people out there who, want to start a business, but here's Preston, and they're doing it and learning from the experiences of others, their real life successes and their obstacles, where I think helps people prepare for the fact that, yes, you start out with this one vision, but you may need to change in order to actually achieve the success that you want.
Mm-hmm. And I'm still out there. I'm still changing.
Yes, right.
Well, you have to change. You have to change, because we may think we have the greatest business idea, but our customers tell us how great that business idea is.
Absolutely.
And if it causes you to make a change, then you make a change. Listen to your customer. I wanted to welcome Vivek,
yes,
who just
Vivek.
joined our panel. How are things in the UK today, Vivek?
Yeah, here the weather is exceptionally good today, so I had to take a walk to convince myself that it is really good. So yeah, just came back, and it's 23 degrees today.
Oh, beautiful. Oh, how beautiful. Oh, my gosh.
Vivek and I had an interesting conversation this week. Well, actually, we didn't talk with one another. It was in a stream, and Vivek was talking about the attitude of business in one instance that he had in the UK, and it was a very interesting discussion. Vivek, you want to kind of summarize what we talked about? As I said, we didn't talk. We were just going back and forth in the stream.
Yeah, it's a case of how your attitude can affect the way you think. This was a networking event I attended. Networking event, as in meet lots of people, and there is a event organizer who gives a talk, and yeah, essentially business owners come there, talk, and
Meet
so on.
each other face to
Yeah,
face.
yeah, face to face. The point I was making there was this was just before the London Olympics. I think it is 2012, 2 years ago now. And Olympics, London Olympics, it's such a great opportunity for business owners who can change and make use of the opportunity. But the discussion at this event was titled in a strange way, which I felt, you can't think like that. But that was what my the title was, how to survive disruption due to London Olympics. Survive what? So yeah, David.
Okay. It was an interesting discussion, and somebody concluded that discussion. I don't remember who it was, but they made a summary statement. Do you remember what that? I mean, it was an interesting interchange dialogue about how important attitude is, and not just attitude, but positive attitude. Because the moment you bring a negative attitude to the table, if you will, you're out. Nobody wants to do business in a negative environment. We have to be in a positive environment. Okay, I'm going to quickly go over another article that I read this week that I thought was kind of interesting. It was about small businesses and issues that they have, and this one author said small businesses can list around 55 issues that hold them back from success, growth, and happiness. There's probably more than 55. I don't know how they came up with the number 55, but they in the article they have 5 challenges, and I want to throw those out. And if you'd like to comment on them, please do. Number 1, business owners have a lack of clarity to their core value and how to communicate it. Key word there is clarity. It's a very, very important word with Brian Tracy. He emphasizes clarity. Any comment on that? You have to have clarity. You have to be able to communicate what it is that you do, what the message of your business is, what value you bring to the marketplace, and how, if somebody makes an investment in you, in your business, when I say an investment, if they buy something from you, what kind of value are they going to get in return? Are you going to solve a problem? I also make the recommendation, and Preston used the expression. One of the expressions I hate, Preston, was cold call. Who wants to make a cold call? You want to make a warm call, not a cold call.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm being sarcastic here, but the way you make a warm call, and this is what I have done virtually in every sales call that I've ever made in my life. One way to make it a warm call is to try to identify, do your research of that company that you are targeting, and find what their pain point might be. You might not have the pain point right on, but at least those folks will recognize that you did some research to try to understand what it is that they do, a problem that they might have, and how you might solve that problem. So it's not a cold call at that point. It's a warm call because you've identified a pain point. Point number 2. a lack of credibility. There are people who are clear and bad grammar there. You misspelled something. You didn't proofread very well. There are people who
Lack
are
of
clear
clarity,
in what
that
they
is.
do, but don't have any weight in their industry to back it up. That's kind of an interesting point. How much credibility do you actually have? Obviously, the more experience you have, the more credibility that you're going to have, and I think that ties into the whole concept of cold calling, Preston. It has something to do with credibility. Okay, number 3, they have the wrong business model. Oh well, what's going to happen if you have the wrong business model? Which is a good point. How do we know that we have the right business model? Unless you go out and you try to do it. You don't know. Once again, your customers or your prospects determine the validity, the strength of your business model, and ultimately will determine your success in being able to execute successfully against your business plan. Number 4, they are invisible. Carlson says this problem relates to if someone Googles a business's name or industry and they are nowhere to be found. Well, come into the Hangout world, man. You'll find the businesses. That's pretty interesting that he uses the example. They Google it and they're nowhere to be found. Maybe they should have been doing semantic search instead of keyword search. That's the answer.
Oh,
Okay.
that's so true. That's how I got onto Google Plus. I was learning about SEO, and I started paying attention to David Amerland, and I went, oh, wait a minute, semantic search, this is really different. I'm not going to go on with that, but it just sort of changed my whole vision of how to communicate with people. Okay, Roxanne has to go, and Preston has to go. Right?
Well, that's okay.
Yeah.
There's no rules or regulations. You come and go as you please. And while we're doing that, I will say hi to Bruce McCallum from British Columbia.
Ah, Bruce, cool.
Good morning, Bruce. Okay, I'm sorry, Zara. Did you say everything that you wanted to say?
Pretty much, except I wanted to follow up on what Vivek was talking about, because I think it's really important, and that is the way that you communicate your business to the outside world, so that surviving. Whoa, I mean, is that right, Vivek? Oh, I have to survive. How am I going to do this? And the best example I can think of is when I had a border collie, and when he was a puppy, I said, okay, these guys are really smart. They need a lot of, training, and so do I, about, how to be with them. And so I started looking for, puppy schools. And there were all these businesses that were like, you must train your puppies, bad behavior, and, along that line, and I'm like, they're puppies. They don't know. They're not being bad. They're just being puppies, You need to just, refocus. It's just like being with children. You need to refocus the energy. And so I kept reading with all these, the assumption was the puppies were bad, and you would be in control, and the puppies would learn not to be bad. And I was, oh, this is so wrong. And then I found a place, and they call themselves Kindred Spirits, by the way, and and everything they wrote about wasn't about the puppy, it was about the dog owner. And it was about teaching you as a dog owner how to direct their behavior. And I'm like, oh, wow, okay, we can do this, you know. But, and, you know, we were there, and it was just absolutely fantastic. And, you know, he went from the first day we went when he's, you know, all the dogs are sitting, and he's this puppy, and he's like rolling around, and his feet are in the air, and he's not sitting, and I'm like, this is never going to happen. This is just never going to happen. But sure enough, you know, with reinforcement and practicing several times a day, you know, he learned how to go. You know, 8 months old, people would go, he's only 8 months old, he's so well behaved. And it didn't have to do with, you know, all this negative stuff about your dog being bad. It was just about learning how dogs act. And I just wanted to reinforce that because I think it's so important that being a writer, that the wording that you use in how you're going to help your clients and customers with whatever it is you're doing, it's so important to give them a positive vision of what you're offering them and how you're going to solve their solution. Because I love Vivek's example. You know, it's like the moment you say how to survive, you've stuck your customers in this negative space. You know, oh my God, I didn't even know I had to survive, and now I have to survive. You know, it's such a negative way to approach any solution. I'm sorry it took so long with the puppy story, but I wanted to make the point that the positive offer that you give to people reinforces their desire to work with you. I just think Vivek nailed it. You know that
the other extreme point was not only the wording survive, and they are talking about a great opportunity, and they're turning that around and saying, I mean, we have heard of business people who turn a kind of disaster or something which is terrible into a great opportunity to do good. And these people are turning the opposite direction. I mean, you have a great opportunity, and you are saying it's how are you going to survive this? I couldn't.
I agree.
That shook you up, didn't it, Vivek?
Yeah. I got pretty annoyed at all those negative dog training people. It does. It makes you really annoyed. Yeah.
Well, I can give you a real life example with our other business. You know, again, I didn't create it. I was just more part of the initial team, if you will. 100 business owners got together and said we need to have an online tool that we can, you know, be able to run our businesses with. And we know there's a lot of things out there, but when you add up all those costs, it's very expensive. So we went out and basically said we're going to build a tool that's going to be able to do all of what we need. Well, we ran into the fact that we had issues with the development of it and many bugs, and I mean too many of them to mention. And I know I would be on the panel, so to speak, to look through the site and making sure everything works out well, and I had over 100 bug reports. You know, so you just never know, you know, when you're running a business, and the owner and the CEO of the company and co-founder and all his executive staff are very successful. Many of them have been millionaires before, but when you go into a new adventure, even with the money backing you up, there still can be problems, and there's still issues, and you just got to basically go over that. And I really appreciate my friend continually going after it, even when he saw it was going backwards, you know, and he was losing. I mean, he lost some big clients too. But you know, last year the first year they started out, they had 2.5 million in sales, which isn't too bad, but they also had a loss, you know, so they didn't make a profit the first year. But it's just continually experimenting, really. I mean, it's strategic experimenting, especially with marketing. So.
To your point, Preston, I have been in all the things I've done in my lifetime. Uh, I'm really a test and measure kind of guy. Test, measure, test, measure, test, measure, and it's a never-ending process. Because if something works, keep on going. If it doesn't work, either change it, fix it, or get rid of it and do something else. And
Exactly.
it's not that difficult, but it's we have to we don't know, and I think Zara alluded to it wonderfully well when she talked about in the dog example. It's about behavior. When we are changing, when we're in business, we're asking folks to change their behavior. Particularly when you're starting a business. If you want them to buy from you and they've never bought from you before, we're asking them to change a behavior. And people don't change behaviors overnight. Back to what Zara said again, it's about how you communicate the message of what it is you're trying to do. You have to educate those folks, continually educate those folks. While you're doing that, you are building trust and confidence, and then when you change all those behaviors, then they might buy from you. But that's the challenge that we have in our business, particularly when we're in the consulting type businesses. It's not like if we were in the retail business and you've got something for sale and either they like it or they don't like it, it works or it doesn't work, it's the right price, it's the wrong price. There's not a whole lot of, it's not like we're asking them to change their behavior as such. So
I love Preston's phrase, strategic experimenting, because that's what it is. That's just it. That's it in a nutshell. Is that you're always testing what your business is doing and what kind of responses you're getting from your prospects and customers. And if you're paying attention to the feedback that they're giving you, or even the non-feedback that they're giving you, like people just like shut the door, that's telling you something about what you're saying and how you're presenting it. And so I think, especially in the consulting business, David, that we have to pay attention to what kind of response we're getting. I love that. I got it incorporated into my thinking, Preston. Strategic experimenting, because to me, life is one big long experiment. Is this going to work? Is that going to work? I mean, from being in the kitchen to anything else, marketing your business, because there may be a way to do it better that I just don't know about yet. So let's try this and see what happens. And if it doesn't work, that's okay. But at least you've tried something new. I love that. Strategic experimenting. That's super.
Thanks.
I've got some more deep philosophy from Kim Boltman that I'm going to read. Kim is coming up with all the philosophical statements of the day. Patience is a virtue, Preston. Stubbornness, foresight, hope, and belief that you can make the world better by sharing your ideas are entrepreneurial traits. Never give up.
Yay,
Thank you, Kim.
No, I agree. And I know that my friend and I were talking too, and he always has an expression, make sure you have the 7 P's. And I didn't know what the heck that meant at first, and he said proper prior planning prevents, I'm not going to say the P word, but poor performance. And that really got me going too, because like you gotta plan things out on a regular basis, and it's just and people who are entrepreneurs are different breed than the normal people who work for others. I have discussions with my wife all the time, and she goes, well, why isn't things working faster? And I go, well, it takes time, and I look at my schedule and I'm like, well, I only work half a day, half of a 24-hour day, that is. every day. So a lot of people don't understand that when they start a business. You just got to continually just go out there and learn too. I mean, that's what I love about Google Hangouts and Google Plus in general, better than any other social media platform. I learned so much from these communities, and I feel so blessed to be part of them.
We all do.
Yes.
I actually had a conversation. I guess it was, I don't know, this last Saturday maybe. I spend all my time in Google. I've got a Facebook profile that I don't use. I have a LinkedIn profile that I don't use. I have a Twitter profile that I don't use. The things that I do is every time I do a YouTube video, it automatically goes to my profiles, a link there. So that's really all my interaction. And it's kind of interesting. I have some friends that are trying to get me into, LinkedIn, not Twitter. Nobody has actually tried to, get me into Twitter, but Facebook and LinkedIn for sure. I've had folks, and they send me stuff, and I just don't take the time to do the things that you really have to do to make it work for you. Because if things are working for me in Google with the things I'm doing, why should I necessarily, spend more time? Am I going to have a diminishing return at that point? So that's just a personal decision for me. Most marketing professionals will say, no, you got to do everything. And I just want to make sure the things I do are the very best that I can possibly do in those things. So I wanted to give an update to where I am in the whole theme of monetizing HOAs, because I've made some movement forward this week in my efforts. I have, everybody wants to know how do we make money doing this thing? How do we make money? Well, you've got to be it's just like a business. You have to be creative in the way that you want to generate revenue. There is nobody, in all my years, I've never met an advertiser who says, I want to advertise. I have never met that person. Yes, you have to advertise, but they don't want to. But in order to overcome that objection, and it is an objection, you've got to show them value for what it is that you're trying to do. And there's a lot of folks inside of doing HOAs that think that necessarily because I have 100 people that watch my HOA and I have 150 engagements and my content is the greatest in the world, that doesn't necessarily make it. Now, every single one of us knows somebody that we can call up and say, hey, would you support my HOA effort? Give me $100. I mean, we all know those kind of people that are out, and that's not a bad thing. Those are friends that want to help support what it is you're doing, and while they're doing that, they can take their marketing message out to the marketplace. That's a good thing. But it takes a whole lot more. So I have two different initiatives going. One is very client specific. I've done an initial. Actually, I did a YouTube for the company that I am targeting. I did my research, tried to find their pain points and how, understanding their pain points, I could take them into Google Plus Hangouts on Air and create for them, some value. I mean, that was my whole objective. Vivek, I tried to do. It took me 2 hours to do a 10-15-minute YouTube this week. Every time I tried to do the YouTube directly, just going directly into their technology. Every 10 minutes it would shut down. I would lose connectivity. Now, I don't know if that was a YouTube issue or a computer issue, or it was probably a bandwidth issue on my end that caused that. But I went through. It took me 2 hours. So I said, no, this is nuts. So I did an HOA. I invited myself. It created a private HOA that created a YouTube link, and that's how I created my. I said, I'm not going to spend any more time doing this. I got to get it done. So that's how I did it this week. So that's one initiative, and that's very specific. I don't want to go into the client, but it's a brand name that many people know. The other, bless you. Preston, what's going on down there?
I don't know. My coughing is bad. Sorry about that.
Something in the Honduras?
Yeah, I got a bug. It's not leaving me.
Oh, not good.
The other initiative is a little bit different in that I want to build a whole community concept, and I'm kind of looking at a vertical industry as opposed necessarily to an individual. In doing so, I will be looking for those folks that are doing. I will be looking for, on behalf of that money that has been committed, I will be looking for HOAs to take their marketing message out to. So I spent a lot of time studying HOAs, who's doing them, what kind of engagement they have, what kind of presenter are they, what kind of clarity do they have in their message. Zara, can they communicate properly with what it is they're trying to do? And there will be when I say, okay, I like your HOA, I want to support it, I think the client will get some value out of that, but here's what you're going to have to do. And it'll be a marketing exercise on your part, because I'm going to be put through the motions, so I need you to help me make things happen. So they're really two separate mindsets for me. But we move forward in. I was just reading something Delilah was saying. I've never. No, it was a good thing.
What'd she say?
Well, she was saying that she. I think each one of you. Yes, each one of you. I sent a Google Doc out this week, where I created a spreadsheet, and there's 8 or 9 pieces of information that I need from you to build into a database. Did you all get it?
I don't remember getting it, so if you could resend, that would be great.
Okay, I will resend now. Vivek,
It was a Google Doc. I've had that same experience, David. That I've sent Google Doc to people, and they didn't get it, and so we had to go with the old-fashioned way, emailing them a document, because somehow it just wasn't going through.
Actually, Delilah just said she got it and she entered it, so I'll have to go and see. But
okay.
Vivek, my question to you was going to be, okay, I created the spreadsheet. And then I shared it with folks. Now, here's where I think I might have made an error. There's a drop down at the back of it. It says can edit or can comment. Now, I should be saying they can edit it. That means they can enter onto that document.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I also had, I think I had a couple of questions to you. So you want people to put in one document, or you want to have them send it separately? That's the question I had.
I wanted them to put it all in one big spreadsheet, so I'd have one spreadsheet.
Oh, okay. In which case you need to say share the edit the document. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I did it a second time. First time I said they can comment. I said it doesn't seem like it's working. Then I said can edit it. So did I send one to you?
Yeah.
Would you enter it and then share? But then you have to share it back to me. Is that how that works?
No, it's we can actually have a discussion about this afterwards, offline.
Okay.
And yeah, I
No,
can help you with
we
that.
won't be offline because I'm not coming to the UK, and you probably don't want to come to Cincinnati, so we'll still be online.
No, offline as in off air.
I'm just trying to be funny. It didn't work this time. Okay, so that's what we have going on. One last thing. I really want folks to use our event stream and just communication in the community to talk about something about your business. Because we know we do all these things and we don't necessarily know what people do. Sometimes we do and sometimes we don't.
That's right.
Okay? And so what it is that you do, and is there something in the spirit, in the mindset of collaboration that the community can help you move your business forward? I would like people to put that into the event stream so that we have it and people can refer to it. And then, because we are a community of collaboration, we are going to be working together, hopefully for the successes of each of our businesses. And we got to know. We have to communicate. We have to market right. We have to have marketing communications, don't we, Zara? The right ones. Okay. Is there anything that anybody would like to share in summary, so to speak?
I just want to say this has been a great discussion, and I can't believe I've been coherent. Maybe I haven't when I look at this again, because Dave, I didn't realize David was going to invite me, and so I had just made my cup of coffee when I got the invitation. I'm like, oh my gosh, what is this?
I didn't.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you.
It was a lot of fun. It was very informative. I love the discussion, and I, you know, strategic experimenting. That's great. I love it. Thank you, Preston.
Those are the words of the day. Preston, please put those into the event stream, and with you as the author of
Absolutely.
the authorship. Next Saturday we will not have a community meeting. I am very happy to say that my son is getting married next Saturday, 125 miles up the road from me, and my 9-month-old granddaughter is coming from Italy, where she lives, and I will see her next Friday. I haven't seen her since she was 11 days old. Although I do hang out with her. I hang out with my granddaughter every week. It's the cutest thing, and I can take pictures of her and use that Auto Awesome. And we've got little. Thank you. Delilah said she found the doc on the community page. So
okay.
we'll get it figured out. Thank you, Delilah, for communicating that information. But we'll get it figured out, and I want to have that database of information, and then I'll probably have one-on-one discussions with you, everybody that answers it, to just to see where you are and where you want to go, and if I can help you get there.
One thing, David, before we go
Yes.
off air, Delilah is asking. I mean, she's saying she has never been able to record a video from YouTube. So what I'm and she has mentioned my name and your name as well. So she's asking both of us. Anyway, because you also mentioned you tried to create a YouTube video and it didn't work, and then all that. Anyway, my point is, I think I'm going to create a short tutorial of how you do it, and then share it with all of you. So
that would be wonderful. That would be wonderful, Vivek. Thank you. Thank you. That would be great. You just post it in the community.
Yeah.
And I will once it's there, I will emphasize that it is there. So thank you very much. That, my friends, this is what we're all about in the community. Small businesses today, particularly the solopreneurs of the world, which we basically all are.
Yeah.
We have to really have a spirit of collaboration to help each other. And what happens when you help me because there's something you can bring a value to my business, I can help you and bring something of value to your business, then together we've created a new force that brings new value to the marketplace. And it's that spirit that is going to determine the ultimate success of the small businesses of the world. So thank you for your contributions today. And also I try to do sessions on 11:30 Eastern Daylight Time every day. I'm starting to call them 20 minutes with Small Biz David, and the purpose of those is just to share information that I am finding, through all these 50. I get about 50 good emails that have good information in them, and so it's a matter of sharing that information with you, and that's the purpose of those. If at any time during the week you want to share something publicly to the community and to publicly, do not hesitate to contact me and say, geez, David, can I come on and I want to talk about this? Fine. Wonderful. Okay. Zara, we're gonna drill down on that novel you're writing. We're gonna get it out the door this year. 2014, it's out the door.
No, it's 2015. It's big. It's complicated. I mean, I know.
Okay, well, 2015.
And I'm working with my. I'm in a writing group, and it's actually a very small and focused writing group. We're all writers who are creating, as it were, alternative universes. Most of the other people are doing future stuff, but I'm doing, 6th century. So it's the same thing. You have to create your world and make it believable without doing an info dump.
That's not Charlotte's group, is it?
No, it's offline. It's in real life, as they say. We get together.
I mean, in real life, it still exists?
It does. It's amazing.
Gosh, I never leave my place. I didn't know there wasn't in real life out there. Okay, well, thank you, everybody, and we'll see you the next time, which may very well be the best time.
Thanks, David. Thanks,